I'm announcing my retirement, but really I've known I've been done for a few months now, but I'm looking forward to what's next. We had an Olympic moment, and like to grow up as we do watching the Olympics and loving Canadian athletes, and our team had one of those moments and that goal, and then suddenly we were all over the papers when we came home. Like it was literally a dream come true, and it impacted Canadian soccer and all the things we wanted it to do. I think I can make the biggest difference in helping to build the professional league. I'm already working with people in Canada. Great soccer minds, great plan. There's a ton of data and work around women's sports right now. We could build a women's professional league in Canada in a way that hasn't been done before. It can be innovative, it can be player-driven, it can be diverse and inclusive and led by women.
Oh, it's an end of an era as Diana Matheson announced her retirement, joining the national team in 2003. And someone who was a part of a lot of her successes, John Herdman, now the head coach of the men's team, as we know, but long time, John, you were the coach of the women's team. And, you know, Diana also talked about you in that interview, saying that it was you who said, you know, let's grab a moment, let's make an impact, let's give this country a reason to be behind this team. And then that was followed by the 2012 London Olympics, where she, of course, gets that goal for bronze. When you look back on Diana's career, what impact, in your words, would you say she's had on the sport in this country?
I was on FaceTime with her yesterday as Harry Kane was taking his penalty, and it was amazing because the two of us, we were just catching up as the England game was going on, because she'd announced her retirement, and we just forgot about the moment. And what we heard was her family, you know, downstairs celebrating. And look, I'm not spoken to Dee for a while now, but I had a few tears on that call with her yesterday. She has been such an impactful person in my life. She talked about the impact I'd had on her, but I said, look, you know, you had such an impact on me, because she has this ability to bring the best out of everyone. And I just think, as a leader, there aren't many as good as her. Like, she is so diligent. She is so inspirational when she needs to be. And then she just works her ass off. And I think, you know, all those three things together with that passion for the game, as I said to her yesterday, I just can't wait to see what she does next. And we're going to be there for each other. That's what we said. Whatever we need, we'll be there on both of our journeys. So I'm excited, Andy, to see what she does next.
That's amazing, John. A lot of pride there. There's a lot of pride in you and the men's national team right now. This is the first time we've chatted since you qualified for the final 8 in the next round of World Cup qualifying. So congratulations on that. But before that takes place in September, we have the Gold Cup. We're just about on the eve of the Gold Cup as well. Another great opportunity for you and this team to do something special. You mentioned leaders when it came to Diana Matheson. I want to know, what has the leadership group among the players set out to be the goal for this tournament for the group?
Well, actually, we meet tonight, and we start establishing the missions. So the first 2 days, I sort of left it open to the guys just to re-immerse and to compete for 2 days. So, you know, there hasn't been a clear starting 11. We've, you know, allowed the guys to really push each other for 2 days solid. But the mission is, as always, it's one game at a time, one stage at a time. And, you know, in my mind, it's to win the group, to get out of the group is the minimum expectation, and then to win the group. And then from that process, you see that there's a 7-day turnaround to the quarterfinal. And we made mistakes in the last Gold Cup in that 7-day window, in, you know, just taking some things for granted, maybe some complacency setting in. And you know, that next mission will be to dominate the preparation in that 7 days. And the leadership group, having already been together for like 15 days, it's them really grabbing hold of the standards of our team to get us ready for a quarterfinal. And then you're into those 3-day turnarounds again, and it's dominating the preparation for that hopefully semi-final. And then it's a 2-day turnaround to the final against tougher opponents. So, you know, once you get past the quarters, I think you're usually in a state in a tournament where you have to adapt, you have to be resilient because things will have happened. And, you know, the team spirit tends to come through, as you're probably seeing with the teams in the Euros. So if you're talking about missions, it's just one stage at a time, and more importantly, one game at a time.
Yeah, John, you mentioned they're trying to win the group. Obviously, there's a lot of eyes on this USA game, the last game of the group stage for you guys. Do you see that game as kind of a yardstick, a chance to measure this team's progress? Or could it be one where you're kind of weighing up, looking ahead to the quarterfinals if you've maybe already got 6 points on the board? What kind of approach do you see the team taking to that game?
Well, we've already beaten them once, so, you know, I think a yardstick is put down. And the second game, they beat us. But if you go back to the stats in that game, you know, we outdid them statistically in every area other than the goals that went in the back of the net. And ultimately, that's what decides football matches. They were way more clinical than us. So again, I don't want to talk about sort of improvement against the US. I think we've already made those statements. But what I will say is the US game's a derby match for this team. And, you know, we'll get up for it in the way that we need to. You know, the passion will be there, this team spirit will be there. And whichever group of players are given that responsibility, I think you'll know against the US, they're going to give everything. So it's a strange format for us because, you know, typically that last game of the group stage, you can take it easy. Sometimes rotate your squad because you've got your 6 points and you're already qualified. But, you know, the hardest games last. And I guess the game that the players will most want is last in the groups. So, yeah, we'll be getting after that one for sure.
John, there's so much youth on this team. Youth leads this team. I mean, Alphonso Davies is playing in his third Gold Cup. He's only 20 years of age, but there are a lot of other early in their 20s competing in their first Gold Cup. I mean, you have Io Akinola, you have Tajon Buchanan, Tyler Pasher. I could go on. But how do you as a coach approach the youth on this team to get the best out of them?
Well, I think it's recognizing the generational needs of that group. You know, firstly, you got to do a bit of work behind the scenes to understand that I'm old now. I'm a bit of a relic at 46-year-old. I'm so far away from the generation.
Don't say that.
But it's true in many ways. Like they think differently, they feel differently, they see the world differently. And I think your starting point as a coach is to try and understand their perspectives. And I think it's generationally, this is an exciting group of people. They're confident, they're self-reliant in many ways. And I think the keys are that you create the culture that suits their needs. And I think with young people, you have to put the trust in them. You have to show them that you believe in them. And the biggest way you can do that is to give them game time, give them that responsibility. And over the last 4 years in this role, I've trusted the young men. I've given opportunities in moments where, you know, maybe people had questioned, but I'll keep doing that. I think it's important for the future of our country and, you know, this generation. There are a lot of young players that need opportunities. So this Gold Cup will provide players with that. I've got it clear in my mind which players I think we need to add more caps to prepare them for what's coming in World Cup qualification.
So, John, a few new players have come into camp, largely the same group that we saw last month in World Cup qualifying. Is this Gold Cup somewhat of an audition for spots, for roles within your team in terms of what you're thinking for September?
Yeah, you're right to raise that, Gareth. I think it's multi-layered, this Gold Cup, with the World Cup qualification right around the corner. That is our priority. I'm making no bones about that. You know, everything we've been doing since I took over this team has been about qualifying for our World Cup and, you know, preparing a team that can win matches at a World Cup. So this Gold Cup, while winning it would be a massive achievement for these players, and we all compete to win. There's no doubt that that's not in the front of our minds. You got to recognize that as a coach, I'm now having to be more strategic and starting to lay in not only elements of the tactical identity we want to develop, giving players the right experiences in the right moments, developing the depth that's going to be required to get through, 14 matches in CONCACAF with 3 games in a window. And then, building this winning mentality, building this winning spirit. And I think that's a critical part. So you throw all of that and you've got to get a balance right between the future and the experience and the present, and continuing with a winning mentality and culture in your group. So, that's everything that I've got to deal with on a daily basis as I'm selecting squads and thinking about how we go through this Gold Cup with September just around the corner.
John, there was some really positive news last week with Ayo Akinola committing to Canada and the men's national team. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about how you've approached that whole, obviously very long process around his commitment, and maybe how you see him integrating into the group here at the Gold Cup?
Yeah, it was a long process, and I think it was just underpinned by real conversations. Every conversation, I learned a little bit more about Ayo, about his motivations, about what's driving him, about what would ultimately influence his decisions. And for me, it became very clear that as he wasn't part of some of the US's thinking, it would have been easy for him to get emotional and just jump on board with Canada. And I was able to just sort of rationalize it, and I've got a young son. I've got a young man only, 5 years younger than him. So, I was clear to him, if you were my son, this is the sort of advice I'd be giving you. And the advice would be, if you're not massively patriotic, if, US have give you a lot in your football career, Canada have give you a lot in your life, and you're torn between the two, so the patriotism isn't driving you, then it's about making the right decisions for your future. And, at that point when we were talking, he was very keen to come into Canada because I felt there was some emotion around not being selected for the US. And I think the realist conversation we had was, me telling him I wouldn't accept him joining Canada in that moment. He needed to see this team qualify for a World Cup first, because if we didn't qualify for 2022, we would have to wait another 4 or 5 years, and the US could have given him the 2022 experience. And I think he respected that. You could see the mask sort of came off and the conversations got more real from that moment. And I think that sort of built a little bit of trust between us that we'll be able to run through brick walls for each other.
We're looking forward to seeing that at the Gold Cup, that's for sure. John, always appreciate you taking the time here. And you have to stay young, my friend, because I'm right behind you. So if you're getting old, what does that say over here? And I refuse to accept that.
Andy, you look way better than me. You'll have to send us some of your skin cream.
I'll do that.